Hello, everyone. Shameless Squad, what is up? If you've ever Googled shame exercises and you're just like, what the heck can they be? What are they? Where are they? I got you, boo. Don't worry. Make sure to hit subscribe. Today, we are going to be getting into my 3-part formula. There's going to be some steps, y'all. I'm not going to lie. So if you want to grab a pen, paper, whatever, or just watch this video in the future as many times as you need, shamelessly do it, okay? So we, in a previous video, talked about like shame, sexual shame, the different shame responses. Definitely go back and watch that video. I will be doing some more on my channel here for Mental Health Mondays. But let's talk about the 3-part formula on healing shame here. So tip number 1, part number 1, this is going to be building shame awareness. You might be like, well, what the heck is shame awareness? This is where we really need to understand if and when we're being shamed and invite that shame into the room and into your body and like check in with yourself. Not invite it in your body like, yay, shame me, bitches. Like, no, like invite your body to just sit with it, not have to run away from it or hide from it or anything like that. So really, if and when you are experiencing shame, like, oh my gosh, I'm a bad person, or oh my gosh, I feel so awful here, right? Like, allow yourself to feel it. What's coming up in your body? What thoughts are attached to it, right? How does it feel? Slow down, be with it. Don't suppress it or repress it whatsoever. You know, in my podcast episodes in the future, I'm going to be talking about how like I shamelessly share how I feel, because I know that if I suppress and repress my emotions, it's going to take me longer to actually heal them, be with them, let them go, and move forward. And so a rule for myself is, and others around me, like if you're in my energy, I'm going to be honest with you. And if you've been watching me on my channel for a while here, y'all probably know that, Shameless Squad, okay? So that's one of the biggest things. The next step in this though, if you get stuck and you're like, well, I don't know about emotions, Google emotions wheel, literally on Google, and maybe print it out, put it around your home, practice how you want to play when it comes to actually name it to tame it. Name the feeling that you're feeling. I feel shamed. I feel bad. I feel sad. I feel disappointed. I feel upset, frustrated. And the emotions wheel, you'll have wheel number 1, which this is the primary emotions wheel, right? Which is really the ones that are easy to pick up on. So typically it's like sad, happy, mad, and a couple of other ones, surprise, and whatever. Then you have a second ring. So the first emotion can always, based off the research, lead to a second emotion. So you can feel mad, right? And that might be the color red on the emotions wheel. But underneath that mad, you could really be like, well, I'm disappointed. And that might cover the sad category, right? So emotions are not linear. They don't have to be all in the same color. And when you expand, you might be like, wow, well, I thought I was this, but really I'm learning like I'm this, and I'm feeling this emotion, right? And then the third tertiary emotion typically is like the crux of the feeling here overall. And so it can be a helpful tool and tip overall. I know for lots of folks out there that are neurosexy, neurospicy, whatever a baby, that can be a helpful tool to just be like, let me zone in on this overall and just have this tangible item. So really notice and understand what other feelings are associated with that primary, secondary, and tertiary, as well as shame. And then tip number 3 is like self-soothe and regulate your emotions with various coping skills and strategies here, right? Like we are in charge of our feelings and our emotions and our responses. And when people operate from a place of reaction, they are not responding. And so when we do that, sometimes it's from emotion rather than logic and thinking things out here. So it's really important to be mindful of how you're feeling in the moments, so you can kind of like soothe, calm down, breathe, do whatever you do to cope with certain things in the moment in order to not run away, flee from the situation, because the 2 ways that we typically try to work with shame is we try to avoid it and we try to control it. And what I typically see too is we run away from it. So, and that could be under the avoid category here, right? So just pay attention to that, and also simply notice, I'm running away from my emotions because they're too hard to maybe deal with and I don't want to, right? And if they are, that might be a clear sign and indicator. If you've been doing that pattern for years, you're gonna have to subconsciously unprogram that and build this awareness now of when you are doing it, right? And this is something that you may have to really take some time and steps to move forward with this. The next step number 4, is really journal about the experience, you know, and like what triggered you in those moments and when you felt shame, because this will help you understand what your shame triggers are. Brene Brown talks about shame triggers and 12 different categories here overall in her research. And I call it the ABCs of shame with the exercise that I have, because I literally go through every letter of the alphabet, because there's definitely more than 12 here. And it's just good to be mindful of how shame can literally show up in different places. And in Bali episodes in the future on the podcast with Paia, shout out to you, Paia, I talk about there was so much shame on this trip. And, there was travel shame, and someone was laughing. I was like, that is a thing. I'm not even freaking kidding you. And there's also body image shame, telling people what they should or shouldn't do with their body. And then there's also food shame, and just all these different things, right? So just being able to jot down what was the shame trigger in these moments is really going to help you build this shame awareness. And write down, how you can communicate and respond shamelessly next time when it comes to these things, and really practice in the mirror. Build up this momentum, this confidence by understanding how your body's coming off, because that's also going to give you clues of whether or not, okay, I need to self-soothe a little bit more here, or I need to slow down a little bit more, or before going into this conversation that I'm practicing for, maybe I need to breathe it out. I breathe it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. Definitely not the lyric, but maybe that could be something that's helpful for some of you out there, Linkin Park, if you know, you know. But honestly, practice this so much in the mirror to the point where it just becomes automatic. So a lot of times I will tell people, practice how you want to play. If there's some sort of shame trigger that you have dealt with in the past from certain situations and people and scenarios, practice in the mirror how you want to play. How do you think athletes get so good? Okay. Literally, that's what I coach people on, is you need to practice this over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? These people aren't athletes for no reason. They didn't just get there by dribbling the ball once and woo, I'm an NBA all-star, what up? No. Okay. So this allows you to also release some of this stuff out of your mind, and also share it, shamelessly in front of the mirror, and build that awareness for the future. So that's part 1. Part 2 of this, how to heal your shame, formula, method, whatever you want to call it, is the ABCD method here to staying shameless here. So the first step is this, right, is learning to assert and advocate for yourself here in situations when you or other people are being shamed here overall. So think back to any time in your life where you wish you had spoken up, and start small and then increase, that challenge over time here, right? And this could be speaking up for yourself. This could be speaking up for others, depending on whether or not it affects you, or, and they say, and someone tries to triangulate you in the situation, you don't have to be triangulated. You can be I'm out. Or if you're no, I deep down, I need to say something because this is not okay. And I want to tell this person that I'm not okay with you saying this to that person. And I would never be okay with you saying this to me here. So really advocate for yourself in any types of situations overall. An example of this, hold up, can be, I've gotten the respect your elders so much in Polish American culture. If you know, you know, it is so shaming, that culture. And, it's one of those things where just because they're an elder doesn't mean they're right, and doesn't mean they just deserve respect if they're treating me or another person poorly here, right? And so a lot of times, in the past, I've had to speak up because I've seen people legit yell in front of my face, and I'm we aren't doing this. If we cannot use our indoor voices as we're actually trying to manage this conflict, then you all need to leave, or you need to go outside. This is not okay here. And then people are finally oh, yeah, you're right. I'm yeah, I freaking know I'm right. Right? So it's one of those things where if you're I just cannot tolerate this, you need to leave. This is not cool in my house, my home, my space, my place. That is asserting and advocating for yourself here in those moments. Another example is, years ago, I had been shamed at Thanksgiving, with a person comparing me to another person at the dinner table and saying, well, I like this person better, blah, 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 and comparing me and the other partner who had been in their life for 8 years, and this was my first Thanksgiving with them, and I'm yeah, I would like the other person that I knew for 8 years more too. And I told a friend that, and this friend was Jackie, that could be your, parent parent-in-law one day. I was like, I don't care. No, like you don't have to tolerate that from nobody here, okay? And that person can do better shamelessly, right? And grow and personally grow, and we can all do better, myself included. So I'm not perfect here, not at all, absolutely not. This is just me shamelessly sharing an example of that. Part 2. So we have assert and advocate for yourself. Part 2. Set and hold those boundaries with yourself and someone else when they're shaming you. Teach people how to treat you when it comes to various types of boundaries as well. So if someone makes a derogatory comment, let's go with body type or weight or how you eat, it's okay to say, please don't comment on my body. I don't comment on your body. Or I don't tolerate those negative comments. Please apologize if you want an apology, right? Please don't comment on my eating habits, okay? A lot of people don't realize like that person could have an eating disorder. That person could struggle with body image. That person could struggle with their weight. And you don't know what they've gone through. So pay attention to what you are saying to people and how you're saying it. And also like that person, if they don't change, it could be because you potentially have not set and held boundaries with them on how to teach them how to treat you, okay? So this is something where we have to be shamelessly honest with ourselves. Am I bitching and complaining behind this person's back and not doing anything about it? Or am I actually standing up and saying something to their face and saying, hey, this is not something that I will tolerate any more of. If this keeps happening multiple times here, at this birthday party, this holiday, this celebration, this wedding, whatever, I'm going to leave or I'm not going to come around anymore, right? And you get to decide what those limits are. I always say, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Like 3 strikes, you're out. And if someone has done it multiple times, I firm them up. I firm up those boundaries. Like 2 strikes, you're out. And if it's someone who is really trying to learn and be flexible and cool, whatever, fine, right? Then maybe a little bit more, but not too much here. Part number 3 of ABC is coping skills, again, for confidence and communication here. So when you are taking a deep breath, slowing down, having a sip of water or Gatorade or something like that, right? One of the best things that you can do is slowly think about how you want to communicate confidently and shamelessly and not shamefully. A lot of times people will just go for the jugular when we communicate. People want to fight fire with fire and then everyone gets burned. It's like, ow, why did we do that, right? So maybe slow down, self-soothe, breathe, take a sip of water, and regulate your feelings here. It is your responsibility to cope with your feelings and your emotions and not running away from a hard conversation or communication with someone when anxiety or stress arise and when those, sensations in the body tell us we want to run. If you're in an unhealthy situation with someone, like I get that. That's completely different. And that's not what I am saying. Like if you are really, truly safety is a concern, this is not that case that I'm describing and discussing. So just be mindful of that when I'm sharing some of these things here, because that is absolutely important. But one of the biggest things that I see with this is a lot of people hold back communication because they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, but then they hurt your feelings. So why are you holding back for them? That's not cool. No. And then that person will keep doing it again and again and again. So they need to learn from you. They need to listen to you, not hear you, listen to you and implement the things. That is a gift, because if that person is doing it to you, think about how many other people they might be doing it to in their life and how long they've potentially had that pattern for, and maybe years, right? And maybe they need this like aha moment from one conversation here, okay? So this is one of the things, like when I work with people and they're like, well, I don't want to hurt my partner's feelings, or I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I'm like, who's in charge of that? Who is in charge of that? Let them have their feelings. Let them. You would probably want to be able to have your feelings, right? So let them have their feelings, and you can have your feelings and you can hold space for their feelings. Observe, don't absorb though. Don't be a sponge. Don't take it all in where you can't like wring it out. And then before you know it, you're angry and frustrated with the situation here. Okay. So maybe needing to do some different types of like rituals to cleanse your energy after, to let go, all the things. Number 4, this is all about defense mechanisms. So check in with your defense mechanisms and hold yourself accountable to them, as well as this other person or people that might be in your life when you are learning to heal from shame. We all need to take responsibility for our actions and inactions in conversations with people, as well as shame, and like when we shame them. And people can be told in a shameless way, you know, how something might have hurt their feelings or what they did could hurt another person's. Like I said, that is a gift. So if you're like, oh, my defense mechanism typically is to repress and suppress and just not talk about stuff, right? You know, that's going to bubble up and you're going to deal with more shame later. And then like, boom, like it's everywhere, right? As anger, but underneath that, it's so many other things. So there's a lot to be able to work on with defense mechanisms, right? Some people might put a mask and put a happy face on when really they're just pissed. On the inside of that mask, it's like pissed, it's anger, it's shame, it's frustration, it's upset, right? For other people, they might shield. They might literally put a shield in front of them, and people might energetically feel that, where it's like, wow, why am I being boxed out or blocked out of like a conversation with you with this? Some people could project their feelings onto the other person. Some people could displace their feelings onto the other person, right? And so those are different types of defense mechanisms overall. The E is for empowering yourself to evolve in doing and being better for yourself and others. And empathy here is also key. So in relationships, people don't always know that they've hurt you or vice versa. And it's really important to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, or as best as you can try to understand their perspective in a situation. So when you keep evolving and you keep growing, this will expand your empathy when you try to do role reversal here of really trying to understand, like, wow, if I shamed Jackie for, you know, her body, or if I shamed Jackie for, you know, being into spirituality stuff, or wow, if I shamed Jackie for not wearing makeup that day, right? Like, how would that make me feel? And if I have kids, if I have children out there, how would that child of mine feel, right? Like, you can play around with empathy and building this in so many different ways for people. You can put yourself in Jackie's shoes. You can think about your kiddos. You can think about a spouse. You can think about a partner. You can think about a friend. And how would they have felt? Probably not so good, right? And sometimes we do this and people think it's funny. Like, I've had a family member, you know, said to me once before, wow, you really look like shit, and right in front of my face, right? So that shame was overt. It was blatantly stated. And I was dealing with a lot at that point in time in my life. And I started crying. I was like, thank you. That's not helpful, sarcastically, right? So I was being passive aggressive back in those moments because I was hurt. And I said, you know, you have 5 sisters. Do you think any of them would have tolerated what you just said to me or been okay with what you just said to me? And this person starts laughing and they're like, yeah, no. And I'm like, exactly. So they learned from it, they apologized for it, they repaired it, and they owned it. And that's what staying shameless is all about. So it's really being able to evolve, and you play around with empathy, like, to evolve and expand this area overall with other people. So hold yourself accountable, hold others accountable and responsible for how they treat you too. Now, part 3, this might be one of the hardest things ever that we go through, which is letting go tips and techniques when it comes to shame, because it is a lot to deal with. And so a lot of times with shame, this, I have different tips here. It can be so easy to say, just let it go, because then we dismiss people and their feelings and things like that, which can also be shaming. So it's really a delicate dance here. But when someone's actually ready to let something go, or they have just been cycling and spinning in the same direction, you know, for years and years and years of their life, you hold on to more mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, energetically, than rather letting it go, okay? So you're kind of freeing yourself from these comments, these people, these whatever, right? But the first tip is pick and choose your battles with shame and with people. Some people that you've had the same shameful conversations with more than 3 times are just not worth your energy anymore. You may have to shamelessly cut those people off in your life, or, you know, see them at a distance, or really reflect on that. Another technique is do a relationship inventory if you need to let go of those types or people or persons in your life. I actually have a relationship inventory that I will be selling, as a document, PDF, digital download on my website, shamelesstherapy.org. But really, like, be honest with yourself. And if you decide to actually do that, like, set and hold limits and boundaries with yourself and them. So you're really assessing like different types of things in relationships. Is this relationship a one-way street? Is it a two-way street? Is it a stop sign? Is it a dead end? Is it a yield? Is it a yellow light, a green light, a red light, right? Is it a complete construction zone and I'm trying to like get through everything and fight for this to actually get through to the other side, and it's just so damn difficult, right? But really take action, because you are the one that's responsible for your life's happiness and who is in your life and who you bring into your energy here and who you surround yourself with, okay? Check the description box below for that PDF document if you want to be able to use some relationship reflection questions on this inventory. And tip number 3 is journal all the things you want out of your mind about that person here, okay? But then write a list of the good times and the good qualities of that person and what you had here. And then take both of these lists, rip them up, throw them in the trash, like legit, let them go if you want to do that. And then another letting go technique is this next one, which is a Reiki burning bowl ritual, where you set the intention. Some people like to use crystals, some people don't. If you have a fire pit, I recommend that more than doing a burning bowl ritual in your house. But I mean, like, you do you at the end of the day, just safety, boo. But legit, like, write anything you want to release people who've shamed you in life, and write down what you want to call in on like another piece of paper. So when you burn the list, like, you can say this stuff out loud, like, I am letting go of this person, I am letting go of this comment, I am letting go of the shame, right? And you can like release it, right? And then you can just throw it in the fire and watch it shrivel up, and commit to yourself that I'm not discussing this anymore. I will no longer discuss this. I don't talk about this. I don't consent to these conversations. The door is locked with the key, and the key is in the fire now, so I can't even go and open that door if I wanted to. And I'm not gonna like, get a weight to like knock it down. No, thank you. The second list though, say the things that you want to call in for better relationships, better people in your life, and then also burn it in the fire and notice the new feelings of excitement. And if you need the emotions, well, pull it out and really hone in on like how this feels. Sending off this intention to the universe, trusting that you will create new steps with new relationships and friendships in your life. Remember this list and this moment as a reminder to you that you are attracting better people and situations in your life overall. Some other letting go techniques. So I like using the elements. So earth, wind, water, fire. We just talked about fire in a ritual. You can also light a candle in honor of that person in your life and send them well wishes to like honor their memory, right? Because sometimes we physically lose people's body, but their soul or spirit lives on, whatever you believe in, right? And sometimes we actually lose people that are still living, like divorce, ex-best friends, ex-partners, ex-family members, communities, whatever, right? So you can really be able to light a candle for that person and just send them well wishes and good intentions, and just sit with that if you ever want to. With the air element, you could write up all that stuff. You could blow up a balloon and then put the letter in there, tie it up, and then let it go. Watch it go and watch it fly away, and just give yourself this moment to be very present and notice the new feelings of like relaxation in your body as you release it. You can also practice a self-compassion meditation, for that person here as well. If you ever want me to do that in the future, comment below if you would like me to record you all a self-compassion meditation, because I have taken a training years ago. I actually got to meet Kristen Neff. Shout out to you, Kristen, if you ever see this, boo, about self-compassion. It was a hard training, and it was something I truly needed just for myself in my life at that time. So that's another one. Breath work, being able to cleanse your energy that way and let go that way. Water, you could literally write up a letter, and then you could like learn how to do origami or make it into a boat or something like that, and then sail it down a river or something like that, right? And let it go down a stream and just watch it. With earth, you can go somewhere, bury that letter that was written, or you could like just even plant a flower or an herb or a fruit or a vegetable or something in honor of that person's memory here, okay? So some of you might be like, well, wow, this is like the 3 tips or whatever when it comes to like healing shame. But you may be like, I don't even know how to heal the shame, or how do I even know if I've been shamed here? Don't worry, boo. I got you in the next video. This is what I'm going to be talking about, is like how shame really shows up and what shame actions to watch out for. So definitely like this video if you learned something new. Leave me a heart below if you love this. Help my channel grow here, and send this to anybody here as well who may need to just hear this a little bit more when it comes to, you know, my 3-step process, you know, with more steps in it, 3-part process steps on how to heal shame and moving forward with some of this stuff too, in order to stay shameless. So as always, thank you so much for being here, Shameless Squad. Thank you for spending a little bit of your Mental Health Monday with me overall here. And I'm so excited that, you know, you just held space for yourself and are just learning some things, hopefully about you, yourself, and others, as well as me. And I hope that you love this video. So again, like, subscribe, comment below. Stay tuned for more. Stay shameless.